Well, our next speaker is right here with us. Ms. Seema Mohanty is a seasoned procurement and supply chain professional with nearly 15 years of global experience. Her proficiency encompasses leadership, governance, category management, digitalization, and mentoring. She is a distinguished member of CII's elite community on supply chain, acknowledged as one of the top 100 women in supply chain in 2021 by Supply Chain Digital and IBM. Seema is a frequent public speaker and a writer across various digital and physical platforms, making significant impact in her field. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Seema Mohanty, Global Supplier Manager, Fungicide Bayer CropScience Limited. Ma'am, requesting you to begin.
Good morning, everyone. I am so glad to see a packed hall today. Honestly, most of the times I don't see that. So thank you for choosing to be a part of this session. And I don't have slides, so I'll be basically speaking at a time, so I'll be just talking to you. So I chose this topic, effective supplier and stakeholder engagement, and how does this help, or how is it very important for procurement excellence, or rather, it's a cornerstone of procurement. A topic very close to me, a very topic close to my heart, and I guess for people who have been in this function, it must be quite close to them as well. So I'll just talk about some of my experiences and beliefs about this. Please don't expect that after 15-20 minutes, it's like a masterclass. It's nothing like that. It is just some points which somewhere I feel are not in course of this topic, right? So let me just start by asking you a question. How would you like to rate this session? Let's say on a scale of 1 to 5, would you really, what score would you like to give already? Now that we are already a couple of minutes, or maybe 2 minutes, 1 minute into this session, how much would you like to give a score? Would anyone like to take a chance here? I know it was very abrupt and it was really too much demanding, just that we are a few moments into the session and I'm already asking you for a feedback. But believe me, we come across this every day, almost every day. So there are some apps you must have used, at least I have definitely used, where the moment you complete a transaction, you're asked to give a feedback. You're asked to give a rating. And some of the times, even if you just leave after completing half the transaction and come back after a couple of minutes, you are still asked to give a feedback. So that is kind of exhausting. Also, you must have seen that unless you give a feedback to the previous transaction, you're not allowed to proceed to the next one. And also, unless you give a score, the highest rating, you are not allowed to proceed without giving a set of reasons why you did not give the highest rating. It's supposed to be a feedback. It's supposed to make their whole app better, or their whole interaction, engagement with the customer better, but it just stops you there. Imagine you are in a hurry and you just want to proceed, it stops you there. So what you do is you rather give the highest rating and just move on, rather than really spending that next few minutes of yours to give the exact rating why and what you really are not happy about. I have done that so many times. I have just given the highest rating, moved on to the next transaction because I have been in a hurry. So what they do with these set of ratings, which includes a lot of these high ratings as well, like people like me who didn't really mean to give it. So they just consolidate it, the system consolidates it somewhere, and the overall score is probably better than what it should be, and you kind of infer from that, or at least the company tries to infer from that, yes, our engagement with our partners, our customers, stakeholders are really good, even though in reality it may not be so, because you are kind of forced to do it. It happens to me in case of many of my suppliers trying to get my opinion, my feedback, my reviews. These days, increasingly, I'm seeing that there are many who have an annual survey kind of thing. Some have quarterly, and there are few also who do it more frequently, literally after every few important transactions. There are few who are trying to get into a very personalized mode, and they employ a third party who supposedly calls me for 20, 30 minutes and tries to take my feedback on certain things, which are supposed to, again, give a very non-biased overall performance criteria or opinion to the supplier. Unfortunately, what these third parties are most of the times doing is that they are just, again, reading out a few questions, asking me for my rating. So it is like a manual version of a digitalized form. So it is not really helping. So instead of giving the real benefit of this interaction, it's kind of doing the other way around. So there are times where I have felt that probably my interaction was anyway better, and because of this feedback session which I had with so-and-so who had no clue about any context, it probably became a little worse. I would not like to spend or waste my time that way. So this is really not interaction. This is really not engagement, which somehow is being perceived that way. I think somewhere we are talking, people have got into this whole idea of collecting data. They're just trying to collect data, and some more data. So the importance or the focus is on how to collect the data, how much to collect the data, and sometimes the whole context is just missed out. And what happens in the process is we end up getting engagement scores which are not really engagement scores, which are probably deceptive. So what do we do actually? And engage, what do we do? How do we get into this topic of engagement? We are talking about supplier engagement, stakeholder engagement, very big topics in procurement. And what do we do about all these things? How do we get into the crux of it? So I've tried to put this whole thing in few questions, and let's see how we get there by answering these few questions. Yeah. Primarily 5 questions. So if I start with the beginning, the first question, what is the supplier engagement? What is the stakeholder engagement? So I'm sure many of you must be thinking that, yeah, we all know it. We are working in procurement for so many years, we know it, and I'm sure you definitely know it. But let me still say again that procurement professionals are really unique in an organization. They have this very big advantage, or rather disadvantage or advantage, the way you put it, that they get to interact with both sides. They are internally focused as well as externally focused. So they're internally dealing with the company stakeholders, and they're externally also dealing with the suppliers. So they get both these 2 points together, both these 2 viewpoints together of both the worlds. And if you just break down engagement, what engagement really means, engagement is nothing but just being involved, being there. So we are in it together. So a procurement professional, the stakeholders and the suppliers are in it together. In what together? In whatever transaction, whatever business they are doing, whatever interaction they're having, they are in it together. So this definitely means they are not in silos, they are not working in silos. So in case they are working in silos, then be rest assured that this engagement is not good enough. So this is what I think is being engaged as a procurement professionals with both sides. Now that brings me to the second thing. Second thing is why is it important? Why is it even important? And why should a professional person, procurement professional, really care about engaging with both the sides? Well, they should care simply because they are spending the company's money. I, as a procurement professional, I'm spending the company's money on behalf of the company, so I better care. I should not only know what my stakeholder needs and wants, but I should also know what my procurement, what my supplier are providing. So I'm the bridge. So I should better know both the sides, and I should definitely care because I am spending the company's money. Now that brings us to the next question, is if we care, how do we really engage? Is it that easy, or is it that difficult? Well, there's no one answer. You would know that engaging with stakeholders, engaging with suppliers, that's a huge, huge topic, and there's never one answer. But what is the crux of it? The crux of it is that we try to add value. That's a very commonly used word. We keep talking about add value, maximize value, because anyway we are adding some value, so we rather try to maximize value and our impact. So when we say that, again, big words, how do we do it? Simply move away from something very transactional, because if something is really transactional, really repetitive, machines can do, so we are probably not needed there. So move away from that to something more relationship-based wherever needed. After that, building trust is important. That's a topic we probably miss out at times, but trust is at the core of every relationship, personal, professional, everywhere. So that's important. The stakeholders should trust you. You should trust the supplier. It's a mutual ecosystem. We have to be creative enough to figure out ways we can innovate things. Again, big words sometimes used as a jargon, but not really so. What I see is, if we just, sometimes people do tell that, well, how can we be creative in a procurement function? Well, I think one can be. It just depends how you see it. If you just look at human beings, they are definitely creative. Just look at the number of videos getting uploaded into YouTube every day, into Instagram. So people inherently, as a human being, they are creative. They are thinking out of the box. They are thinking in different ways. But when it probably comes to the organizational level, this creativity somewhere gets depleted. I think there is a lot of ways in how that can be enhanced. And people can definitely do something more to get that additional value, to get that additional creativity out of your interactions. I am not getting into specifics because there are too many. So having said all these things, we talked about trust, talked about creativity, talked about adding value. These are all important. Just see how you're just going a little beyond. And then you see how it works. Now, after adding value, or rather, after knowing that adding value is a great form of engaging, we can always ask, is it really possible to do that all the time? Is it really possible to engage or add value all the time? Well, you'll have to ask this question yourself and see what answer you get. When I was thinking about this particular question, I thought, why not? Because when we are interacting with an individual, with another party, we are basically negotiating. And negotiation is a strong pillar of what procurement professionals are expected to do. But we probably just stop at price negotiations, and that's not the case. It's not just about price, volume, and when you get the material or the service done. It's more than that. Negotiation is much more encompassing. But for that, again, my focus is on how you're interacting with human beings. So my focus is first on knowing yourself, because unless we know what we are doing, why we are doing, what is the outcome of what we do, unless we know that, unless we know our motivations, we simply should not be even sitting in front of another party to negotiate. And it doesn't stop there. We should also know the other party, what is their motivation, what are they doing, why they are doing, and where does it take them. So once we know these two things, I think it's the value thing gets decoded. Many times you'll find that what value means for us is probably different for what it means for somebody else, for the other party. And that is perfectly fine. Different value propositions can coexist in a business transaction, in a business relation, and that is fine. And therefore, yes, it is possible. Sometimes it may be difficult, but it's definitely possible to figure out the value from each of our engagement. And then perhaps I'll go to the last question, which I always ask myself, is where does it lead? Where does engagement find a place in the world of technology? I mean, I just came into this hall and I saw the previous session was going on, and I didn't obviously attend the full one, but I can tell you I heard about ChatGPT, about technology and everything. So definitely technology is an enabler, and it has helped ease several of the pain points of the earlier procurement era. It helps me tremendously in market intelligence, in just maintaining compliance, and maintaining platforms, which probably was not easy for earlier generations of professionals. So technology for me is an aid. I think it will become increasingly a bigger support system. Probably it will completely change the way we function, the way we work. It may as well completely change the definition of procurement function tomorrow. We don't know. But it will be interesting to find out. But let's just imagine the extreme case where, say, technology completely eliminates most of the jobs that this function does today, procurement and sourcing functions do today. Even then, I'll tell you, engagement with your with your stakeholders, with your suppliers, or rather on a personal level, even engagement as a topic, as a value proposition will still remain. So no matter what, this is a topic we should all pay importance to, be conscious of, and work towards bettering it each day. Thank you. In case we have anyone having any points or anything to contribute to the discussion, maybe?
So we have 2 minutes for question. We can take one question. Yes.
Thanks, Seema, for taking the topic. And out of 3 years, supplier and stakeholder, which is close to every procurement guy's heart, taking this topic. And I think the one point which you touched upon, like trust. So whenever you have the credibility, reliability, having intimacy with your suppliers and stakeholders, and less self-orientation. So it is win-win approach. I think it always, engagement will be always taking to the next level. So thanks for taking this, and I fully agree that stakeholder connect, high influence, high impact, when we identify the stakeholder and then working with the engagement, I think it always gives the success. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for adding this.
Great. So moving ahead, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful observation. And I would request Mr. Naveen Diwan, Vice President of Sales, Procol, to kindly join us on the stage for the felicitation.